today we're going to read an article about the history of Brighton and about some other important things that happened in Colorado. And then we are going to use this and we're going to illustrate a picture of one of the locations. And then we're going to write a paragraph that's 3 to 5 sentences that has to do with that location. We're going to figure out what locations as we read the articles, and we'll go through all that. Okay. So, does anybody have a prediction about when Brighton became a town?
1853.
A little bit. You're close, but it's a little bit newer.
1859.
Go a little bit further up.
1876.
More.
2016.
Go ahead.
1892.
You're in between those. So, we're going to read the article. It's going to be one of the first sentences that we're going to read. As you can see in the article, it's going to be a lot of locations that we're going to be talking about. So, how do we distinguish if a word or a person is important when we see it in a sentence? What's the distinguishing thing? Beginning of beginning of the word. What happens when it's important? Okay. It's what do we do at the beginning of a word that when it's a noun or important?
Bolded.
Capitalize it. We capitalize it when it's important. It's a noun. Proper noun. Alright, so let's start reading this article. So the first paragraph is about Brighton's beginnings. And it starts, a petition for incorporation was filed in the Arapahoe County Courthouse in Denver on May 6, 1887. Okay. On this date, there were 175 people within the boundary of the proposed town. An election was held June 11, 1887, so about a month after it became a town. And it had a resulting vote for 40 for incorporation and 17 against. Meaning 40 people wanted it to become a town and 17 people didn't want it to become a town. It was incorporated as a town on July 26, 1887 after that vote. The town had a school, a church, a blacksmith shop, a hotel, a meat market, 2 general stores, a post office, a railroad station, a telegraph station, a section house, a newspaper, a cemetery, and 3 saloons and a number of residences. A new county road from Box Elder to Boulder was built and crossed the Platte River in Brighton. That road is now Highway 7, which is also Bridge Street here in Brighton. So here are a few pictures of the beginning of when Brighton existed. So that first picture is the train depot. And then that bottom picture is a picture of Main Street. Way back when. And this was one of the first families in Brighton.
That's how they dress?
That is how they dressed in 1887.
It looks like cowboys. They look all fancy. Do we highlight or we make?
You can highlight it if you think something is important, which a lot of things are important in these.
Everything.
Okay.
Is
the next paragraph is about gold mining. So this didn't happen in Brighton, but it happened in Colorado. And because it happened in Colorado, a lot of people came to Brighton when the gold mining was done, when they couldn't find anything when it was over. So,
it was like the gold rush.
yep, gold rush. So in 1859, gold was discovered on the eastern slope of the Rocky Mountains in Colorado by Pikes Peak. Some miners became very rich, but most miners led a difficult life and left the mining camps with less money than what they came with. The gold they did discover was used to pay for housing, food, drink, and living supplies in new mining town stores. Number one, it was difficult and time-consuming to get the living supplies into the new home in remote mountain towns. Number two, there were few stores, so the miners did not have a choice to shop around for better prices. So, has anybody heard of fool's gold?
Yes.
No.
Yes, that's gold that looks like gold, but it really isn't gold.
It's golden nugget.
Fool gold?
There.
Called pyrite.
It is called pyrite.
Pyrite.
Alright, so everybody's gonna get a piece of fool's gold.
Okay.
But I ask that you not play with it. You can look at it, just don't play with it as we're reading these articles, because the article is really important to read, okay?
Okay.
Alright, we're going to move on to the next little paragraph.
Oh, yeah.
It's about the Great Western Sugar Company and the Cooner Pickle Company.
Pickle company. Is that thing?
So, the Great Western Sugar Company and the Cooner Pickle Company are the best known agriculture-related companies in Brighton. By 1971, with the new equipment, the factory sliced 2,200 tons of sugar beets every 24 hours. So sugar beets used to be made into sugar, and that's what the Great Western Sugar Company did. Sugar beets are pretty much not possible to find. I tried really hard to find one for you. So instead, I just had to get a picture. So that is what a sugar beet is. It's a root vegetable, but they would process those into sugar.
But now they use sugar cane.
Now we use sugar cane. So,
I know that.
alright, the Great Western Sugar Company was so busy during the busy season, they built a dormitory to house the workers. The sugar beet not only ushered in one of the most reliable cash crops for the area, it was one of the most dependable crops on irrigated ground in the West. Brighton had been fighting to get a Cooner factory, which they do a lot of pickling and canning. I have a picture of their label that you guys might actually recognize.
Coca-Cola.
May 28, 1917, the plant moved from Denver to Brighton. Similar to the Great Western Sugar Company, Cooner built houses for his employees. These houses were called Cooner Row. They are still in Brighton today, and they are between 4th Street and Longs Peak.
Yep.
Brighton Street. Okay. So, here is a picture of the Great Western Sugar Company.
Grandpa's
Everybody
where he
knows the building
works,
now,
like
right?
right next to it.
So
across
they use, it's off of 85, and they used to process sugar in there.
What?
The building got old, and we changed processes, and it just, they don't use it anymore. Now it's just a big building on 85. So here is the bag of sugar that you would find in the store now. That is made with cane sugar. It's not sugar beet. But that is what the Great Western Sugar Company now produces. And not here in Brighton.
Watch him show Walmart on there. Oh, the old.
Alright. So this next picture is of Cooners. And this is the Canning and Pickling Company. So you may have seen this in the grocery store. They do a lot of the beans that we can purchase here. These are the older cans that were way back when in the early 1900s that they used. So we have the new cans and the old cans.
Yeah.
Yeah, cans look kind of cool. Alright, so the next paragraph is about Bromley Farm. Bromley is said to have spent a considerable amount of time improving some of the best breeds of cattle and Cleveland Bay horses. During Bromley's time, there is evidence that the farm property was populated by an abundance of large cottonwood trees, shading the house and creating formal rows lining the drive entering the property. It is likely that the family planted other ornamental plant materials and gardens around the main house, perhaps for decorative purposes and to grow a variety of vegetables for family consumption. Through oral history, it has been learned that there was a formal garden on the east side of the house for entertaining. Bromley served as president to the German Ditch and Reservoir Company, secretary of the Fulton Irrigation and Brighton Lateral Ditch Companies, and was involved in oil development and serving as a president of Gibraltar Oil Company. While in the state legislature, he worked to simplify and liberalize water rights and was continually a strong advocate for farmers and ranchers around the state. So that's really important that there are advocates for farmers and ranchers around the state, because without them, a lot of the farmland could actually disappear and we would no longer be an agricultural state as much as we should be, because we do provide a lot of the food in Colorado. While in the legislature, Bromley helped craft bills that separated the northern part of Arapahoe County into Adams County and named Brighton as the county seat. So Brighton is a really important fixture in the actual county as well. James hired William O. Roberts to farm and manage the former Bromley farm with the first crop in 1936. So we didn't start doing vegetables or anything like that, the crops, until 1936 at the Bromley farm. Previously, he focused a lot on cattle and horses and not the actual farm and vegetables and stuff. So the crops that were grown during the Roberts era consisted of the sugar beets that we saw previously, alfalfa, corn, grains, and at one time a large field of crop of tomatoes was also grown west of the barn. In addition to the fertile land for harvesting these crops, the Roberts family raised hogs, so pigs, along with dairy and feedlot livestock. The farm consisted of 160 acres during this period, with the majority of the land under irrigation, which means it had water supplied to it rather than just relying on the rain, from 40 shares of water owned by the farm and provided by the ditch company. So, I do have pictures of Bromley Farm, because I personally had no idea which farm this was. So, this is Bromley Farm. It is, if you look right over here in this corner, there is Brighton Oasis.
Oh, the historic house of Brighton.
So, there's Bromley Farm, right next to the Oasis. And this is actually, they want to redesign it. And they want to, which one? No, so they want to redesign Bromley Farm and open it up for an event center. Bring it back to life. And redo the houses and all of that. Those are probably trees or bushes. Alright, 2 more paragraphs. Stick with me. Okay, next one is Brighton Armory. So, one of the 12 in Colorado using Hudart's blueprint and only 3 left standing. The armory was built of 33,000 hydrostone blocks manufactured in Brighton. So Hudart was a really famous company. He was not a company, he would build the buildings. He was the architect. And he was really famous in Colorado. He built a lot of buildings. This is just one of the bigger ones that he built. There were houses in Denver and a lot of other things. So upon its dedication and opening in 1922, the building was used to store arms and military equipment and to serve as the headquarters for Company K, 157 Infantry of the Colorado National Guard. The second floor housed a reception room and dressing room. The basement was used not only for arms and storage, and curiously, it had a swimming pool with dressing rooms for both men and women. For years, residents had to travel to neighboring cities for cultural entertainment and ask local arts organizations to make do with limited space in schools, churches, and civic clubs. Its designation as a local historic landmark by the Brighton Historic Preservation Commission set in motion the Armory's transformation into a vibrant cultural center. So it is the one next to the library.
Yes.
So this was in 1921, the year that it opened. This was in 2008 before they redid it, and this is what you see now.
Right after I was born.
All right, so the last little paragraph is about the Denver Pacific Railroad.
Pacific Railroad.
Alright. Although there are a few excellent historic resources associated with this period of Brighton's development, the location of the town and its physical layout have their foundations in this context. This critical junction provided north-south rail access along the Denver Pacific, which is now the Union Pacific, and east-west across access along Denver and Boulder Valley railroads. It reached Brighton in 1870. It was 17 years before Brighton actually became a town. So there was this place, it was called Hughes Station, and that is where the train depot was, but it was here before we actually became incorporated as a town in 1887. What's up, Elise?
This year taught us about the armory. She said it used to hold guns and everything.
Yep. Those are what arms are called.
Oh.
Arms is a fancier word for that. And artillery, they're along the same lines. Alright. The rail line dictated the eventual development and physical layout of Brighton, while the South Platte River enabled agricultural production and processing to flourish in the area. So we had trains, and we had agriculture, and we had some processing plants like Cooner and the Great Western Sugar Company. Alright. When did it become a town? Say it together.
1887.
Alright. So, here is a picture.
Yeah, I know that.
Yep. So, this is on Bridge Street. And you guys all recognize that Union Pacific train up there?
Bicycle place.
That's on the bicycle place.
Treads. I know that.
And then the train's right next to it.
Alright. So I have a train. So this is similar to what you would have seen way back when. The Union Pacific train. And you will get to look at it. Let's just finish this part, and then I'll let you look at it, okay? Okay. So, we are going to go over some of our vocab words. So, one of the first words on this list, one of your first vocab words, is mining. So I need you to write down mining on that sheet of paper.
How do you spell it?
Next word, agriculture.
Agriculture. Agriculture.
Next word, crop. Pickling.
Pickle. Sticky. No, it does. Pickling.
Next word,
Crop.
Ranch. Not like the dressing.
Ranch. What's another one? Oh. Huh? No, ranch is
Sugar beet.
like a ranch. Don't you know what a ranch is? Like a field open space. Real.
Armory. 10 total.
Oh boy. Coffee.
Denver Pacific.
Denver Pacific.
That's one word.
It is one word on the crossword puzzle. In reality, it's 2 words.
Yeah, okay. There's only 8.
Pikes Peak.
Heights. Heights.
Like the mountain.
It's really tall.
It is.
I walked it at It's actually pretty cool. You get a free peak. It has roads on it. It's people race on it. I know.
Look at that. Look at that word.
Okay, last word is Hughes Junction.
Huge junction.
Okay,
Is that an L?
which one?
The crack.
Hughess.
Have you just started?
Yep. So I want you to work on these ones individually. If you need help, you can ask for help from your table group. So I chose these vocab words because it's really important that we recognize these vocab words because they describe our state's or our town's history.
I was the first one across.
4 minutes.
Was the first one across.
Until next, but
What?
1 minute to jog.
4 minutes to do your crossword puzzle.
I'm not doing no class.
Yes, so
Crack. Crop. I'm saying that's that word. Crop. You're saying crop. I like the on the no, and it is.
I want shucks. You told me I just found one. Did you write Denver?
What? Your apple?
Well, you should have. Stop it. That's the apple sucker.
Ew, apple.
if you need to look at it.
You're not having the right. Apples are good. He's not benefits. Could you stop?
No, wait. Never mind. I don't like it. I like it.
So there are no spaces where there should be. So Hughes Junction, don't have a space. It's 1 word. Pikes Peak is 1 word. And Denver Pacific is 1 word. When you fill out your crossword puzzle.
Do you want it up or down?
How are you guys doing?
I already saw peek and
I want some.
You have 10 of them.
I already saw 5.
You are going to, and you can do this in any order, but I want words and I want a picture on a paper. So in this top box is going to be an illustration about the location I gave you. Down here, you're going to write about that location that I gave you in 3 to 5 sentences. And I want it to be very clear. I want punctuation, I want good grammar, and I want details. I gave you the main idea, which is the location, so now I need the supporting details about what you illustrate about that location. I gave you guys groups, so please do work in them, but let's work a little bit more quietly. And you can use the articles that I gave you. Completely use the articles that I gave you, the crossword puzzle I gave you. Is everybody clear now? Okay, go ahead.
It's my fault. I did. Wait, what's Carrie? Is it the other one or the other one? Is it the circle, two circles?
Did you show that picture, you guys?
Anybody want some fresh apples? Fresh apple box. Fresh air. I put some army fence spikes on it. Laser spikes.
No, we don't. That's in high school, middle school.
I'm in high school, middle school, but
No, he's in middle school.
new to school. Michael, you have fresh apples right there. He said he doesn't have one apple. He only has one apple.
Write about the armory.
Of the armor?
Yes, you do.
The armory right next to
I put laser fences,
weapons.
You're gonna write about the armory, so use your articles to reference. Or write about what you already know about it, that it's next to the anything library.
That does not even look like this spiky fence. Look, does this look like the armory? Allie, does this look like the armory? There, all these those are the processes. I gotta be back quick.
I would say do. But you could.
You have to take the gold back?
No, gold is yours. Alright. I am all done. If you haven't finished, put them away in your communities.
Yeah. If we didn't finish the artwork,
Either way, whether you finish or not, put them in your communities.